Cutman Press presents Deadly Pattern, Book 1 in the Dana Mulder series. Written by N. Gray. Read for you by Michelle, the AI narrator. Chapter 1. This story contains content that might trouble some readers, including but not limited to depiction of and references to suicide, sexual assault, violence, and murder. Please be mindful of these and other triggers. Practice self-care before, during, and after reading. As much as I've tried to stick to police procedures and correct terminology, I may have used my imagination a few times to make the story a little more interesting. Bianca stretched her legs. That familiar click in her right knee sent a jolt of pain up her leg. The movement caused her to move her upper body, and pain from her shoulder made her wince. She relaxed one muscle at a time, and after a few seconds, the pain dissipated. Having another scar once she'd healed wasn't comforting, but it was just another scar to add to the one that went down her right leg. When Bianca had first arrived at the hospital, she had shared a room with another patient before being wheeled into surgery. Now she had a private room and wondered whether her insurance had approved it in full, because she didn't have money to pay the difference should there be an outstanding balance. Her room was clean with the standard eggshell-colored walls, starched bedding, and repulsive hospital smell, disinfectant mixed with body odor and the lingering stench of a corpse or two. Her shoulder throbbed and the joint felt tight. She tried to move it, but it was strapped tightly in a sling against her body. It was an old sports injury that had worsened when she had fallen. She couldn't remember how she had fallen on the sidewalk. She was walking one second, the next thing she had woken in the back of someone's truck. The kind man had offered to take her to the hospital. The next day, she was scheduled for a rotator cuff repair. Gently massaging against the bandage on her shoulder, she felt something, and wondered whether the orthopedic surgeon had done an arthroscopy as he had promised, or if he had gone full-on butcher on her arm. She shuddered at the thought. Footsteps sounded. A light knock on the door was followed by a nurse beaming at Bianca as she entered. "Morning, my name is Mary, and I'll tend to you today. How you're feeling?" The nurse wore a tight white bun on top of her head, had clear crystal blue eyes, and a warm smile to match her happy demeanor. She carried a blood pressure monitor and reached for Bianca's arm. Her powdery perfume wafted in behind her, causing Bianca to stifle a sneeze. "Okay, I guess. When will I see the doctor?" Bianca sat up, using her uninjured arm. Her right arm throbbed in the sling as she moved, even though she kept it still. She leaned against the pillow, breathless. She could stay where she was. She didn't have the strength to sit all the way upright. That position was as good as it would get. "He's busy with other patients, but you'll see him soon," Mary said while leaning Bianca forward, fluffed her pillows, then helped her lay back again. "You comfy now?" Bianca nodded. "And my dad, is he here yet?" "No, but I'll send him in the moment he gets here." Mary squeezed her knee through the starched bedding. "Don't fret. I'm sure he'll visit you soon." She cocked her head with a sympathetic smile. "You hungry?" "Not really. Maybe thirsty." Bianca felt blood drain from her face. The sudden movements didn't agree with her, and bile rose, which she swallowed, tasting the bitter after-effects of the anesthesia. Mary smiled knowingly. "It's just the morphine. It makes patients a little nauseated soon after the procedure. Don't panic with what I'm about to do." Mary lifted the bleached covers. "I'm just going to remove the catheter." Bianca felt a gentle tug on her lower body, but didn't notice the little tube leaving her. She did have an overwhelming need to urinate, though. Mary unhooked the bag from the side of her bed and placed it on the trolley that stood against the far wall. Bianca relaxed, hoping the feeling would disappear, but it didn't, and she needed to go. "Okay, I need the bathroom now." Bianca slowly sat upright. Mary smiled, pulled the covers all the way back, and helped her off the bed. Bianca wobbled slightly, but Mary steadied and guided her to the small bathroom in the corner. Once Bianca was done and back in bed, Mary left the room but returned after a few seconds, wheeling a trolley full of food and a glass of juice to Bianca's bedside. She set the plate of food onto the over-bed table with cutlery and a plastic cup with 3 capsules. "Eat." She sat in the chair beside the bed and watched intently. "Are you going to watch me eat the whole time?" Bianca lifted the lid to see scrambled eggs and toast. "They say eggs and dry toast go down easier on the first day." "Don't mind me." I'm here to ensure you're okay and can eat something before you take your pain meds. She jerked her chin at the plastic cup holding the capsules. Bianca ate slowly and sipped even slower on the orange juice, then paused until the nausea passed before she continued eating. Mary watched Bianca the entire time. Frosted-colored eyes gleamed at her once she finished. Now for your medicine, it'll help with the pain. I promise. Mary pushed the plastic cup closer along with the half-full glass of orange juice. Bianca swallowed one capsule at a time, finishing the orange juice. Mary removed the plate and glass and handed her the remote for the television against the wall opposite her bed. She flicked through the channels, all 6 of them, eventually stopping on a cartoon about a mouse. Bianca's eyelids felt heavy. Her skin tingled, and her body relaxed one muscle at a time. The medication took its hold on her. When Mary closed the door behind her, Bianca's eyes fluttered open, alarmed when she heard the door shut with the distinct sound of a lock turning. Bianca's heart hammered against her chest. Why was she locked in? Chapter 2. I watched the black whirlpool in my favorite mug as I stirred my coffee. The warm liquid tasted like coffee for once and not burnt tar. That's only because I was the first one at the office and had started the pot. I was usually the last to arrive, but I was up early this morning. Where did these come from? I asked Mark, pointing at the bouquet on my desk. Dunno. They were outside the door when I arrived. The card had your name on it, so I placed it on your desk while you were in the kitchen making coffee. Do you have a boyfriend we don't know about? No. No time for that. I surveyed the card. It only contained my printed name, not even the company who had delivered the flowers. I shrugged. They're pretty. It's a shame I have to throw them away. Mark arched an eyebrow. Don't give me that look. I chuckled. Mark arched the other eyebrow. It was his party trick. I don't trust flowers from unknown senders. I walked toward the kitchen with the bouquet and placed them near the trash can for discarding. When I re-entered the office, Mark was tapping a wooden stirrer on his desk while yapping away on the phone to some poor schmuck who probably said something he shouldn't have. I grinned when red blotches climbed his neck and spread to his cheeks. Yep, someone was pissing him off. Mark was my boss. He had opened his private investigative business about 5 years ago. Our workload consisted mostly of couples who suspected their partner of cheating and wanted proof for the lawyers. We also investigated cold cases of missing people, theft, and surveillance. Every now and then, we worked with the police on active cases, but not often. Before Mark was a PI, he had been a detective and before that a Marine. He still stayed in shape but lately had developed a soft belly and only shaved once a week. I'd met him when I was hospitalized. His wife Rachel was my roommate. She had been in a car accident, and he had lived in the ward with her while she had been in a coma. He had told me about his business, and I had told him about me, and he had offered me this job. Unfortunately, his wife, who was also his receptionist, didn't survive. They had discharged me the same day as her passing. I had attended her funeral a day later to offer my support. And since Rachel's death, Mark hadn't hired another receptionist. Her desk stayed empty but clean, and we all answered our own desk phones. And as they say, the rest was history. The doorbell chimed, the door slammed shut, then an oldish white male entered, knocking over one of the visitor chairs. He made a beeline for me, and didn't stop until he was at my desk. I rose from my seat, hand extended. His hands were sun-kissed with age spots. I'm Dana. Can I help you? The man shook my hand, nodding profusely, and swallowed hard. It sounded like it hurt. His eyes were red-rimmed, forehead beading with sweat, and his clothing clung to him like a second skin. I glanced outside to see the clouds in front of the sun and the wind blowing. It wasn't that hot. Whatever was happening with this man was serious. Do you have any water? The man asked, his tongue sticking to the inside of his mouth, and he swallowed again. Sorry. Where's my manners? I'm Ned. Yeah, sure. I grabbed a polystyrene cup from the holder, filled it with chilled filtered water, and handed it to him. Please sit. I motioned for the visitor chair near my desk. He gulped the water with a satisfactory ah sound. I filled it again and handed him the full cup. You don't have an appointment. I was expecting a phone call any moment, so whatever the guy wanted, he had to be quick. No. He swallowed, blinking misty eyes. No appointment, but you come highly recommended. The best in Illinois, actually. Smart move, we loved flattery. What's the matter, Ned? You seem, I waved my hands in his general direction, disturbed by something. He emptied the cup, placed it on my desk, and wiped his eyes with the palms of his hands. Mark ended his call, and I knew he was listening without having to look in his direction. My daughter is missing. I raised an eyebrow. Have you tried the cops, Ned? They were the first line of contact in missing children cases. They had the resources to find kids quicker. We didn't, unless they were cold cases, and there was no rush to solve those. You don't understand. I dropped her off at the hospital yesterday morning for a procedure on her shoulder. But when I returned to fetch her, she wasn't there. When I spoke to the administrator at admissions, she said my daughter was never there. I understand how stressed you must be. But again, I must ask, did you go to the cops? They're better equipped to handle missing children cases. We don't get involved in active cases. She's an adult. His voice was clipped, concise. And yes, I was there. Filled in that damn form and was told to come back in a couple of days. By then, she could be dead. And besides, they're all busy with that accident on the highway anyway. Oh yes, I had been watching the highlights this morning when carnage on the highway flashed in red on my TV screen, 48 cars, 2 trucks, and a school bus. They needed all available resources. But they have detectives who work missing cases, I confirmed again. Ned sighed, glanced at Mark, then back at me. She didn't run away from home, and she doesn't have a boyfriend. She really isn't that kind of kid. Yesterday, the detective said they'll see what they can do and contact me. When they didn't, I phoned today, and they said the hospital staff didn't even have her on record. They also spoke with the doctor, and he denied ever consulting with her. It's like she disappeared and nobody saw anything. I'm back to square one. The police think she has a boyfriend I wasn't aware of and left town with him. Ned leaned back in the visitor's chair, looking deflated and miserable. We're close. Especially after her mother died. She wouldn't leave me like that without saying where she was going. I glanced in Mark's direction, arching an eyebrow. This was the usual spiel we got from parents with so-called missing children. How many moms and dads really knew their kids and what they were up to? Mark shrugged and nodded. Fine. We would hear Ned out and see how we could help. I would also see which detectives were working his daughter's case. Okay, Ned, give me all the details. I switched on my phone and tapped the voice recording app in the top right corner without having to look. You don't mind if I record you? He nodded. Great. I want to know everything, from the moment you woke up yesterday until you walked through our door. I grabbed the nearest pen and pulled my notepad closer. Sorry if I sound unsympathetic, but can you afford our rates? I gestured toward the sign on the wall near my desk. Ned checked the posted per hour cost and nodded with widened eyes. I own a construction company. It's fine. We were not cheap, but we got results, and we got them quickly. I can take this case, Dana, Mark offered. It's fine, Mark. I got it. You have enough on your plate. We'd had this conversation before, and I wasn't about to get into it with him again, especially not in front of a client. I got it, Mark. My desk phone rang. It was my other client. I glanced at Mark and asked with my eyes. Let me get that for you, Mark offered, punched numbers on his phone and answered my call. I returned my attention to Ned. He reviewed every single detail he could remember. He gave me all the names of the doctors his daughter had seen, along with the reasons and when. Chapter 3. Bianca woke feeling groggy and nauseated. The last thing she remembered after eating the eggs was drinking the capsules. Then she slept. Lifting the covers, she realized she was wearing different clothing. Someone had changed her underwear and nightie while she had slept. She lifted her arm to her nose and noticed her skin smelled of coconut. While she slept, they had cleaned her and covered her in the body cream. They had touched her. She whimpered and pulled the covers tighter around her body. Unsure of the time or day, since she didn't have her cell, she was unsure how long she had been asleep for. The room had no windows or clocks, and the television had no time. She was hungry, therefore must have slept at least 8 hours. Bianca's shoulder ached. She hadn't recognized any of the capsules and vowed to never drink them again, even if the pain in her shoulder killed her. She knew and understood shoulder pain, but the unknown was scarier. The door lock sounded, and Mary entered, wheeling a trolley. Bianca sat and leered at her. Her shoulder throbbed with a constant pain no matter how she rested her injured arm. Mary parked the trolley, lifted a plate, and stood in front of Bianca. Her smile reached her eyes, crow's feet prominent. She proffered the plate of food. "Hello, sleepyhead. For dinner you have rump steak, roast vegetables, fries, and a cheese sauce on the side." "How long was I asleep?" "A while." "Did you change my clothing?" Bianca twisted the covers against her chest. "Yes, but don't worry, I didn't look." Mary winked. Bianca shuddered at the thought of lying unconscious while Mary touched her. Mary removed the silver cloche, assaulting Bianca's nose with heavenly aromas, and her stomach rumbled. Mary pulled the overbed table closer and placed the food on top, and neatly lay the cutlery beside the plate. Next to the plate was a tiny plastic cup with the familiar 3 tablets. Bianca eyed them suspiciously, then glanced up at Mary. "Has my dad come yet?" "No, dear, not yet." "Are you sure you told him you were at this hospital?" "He dropped me off." Her voice raised, sounding angry, but she didn't care. "And where's my phone? I need to call my dad." "I'll look for your belongings. But I think they misplaced them during your operation." "How convenient," Bianca said, crossing her arms. She didn't believe a word Mary said. "When will I see the doctor? Surely I don't have to stay here for more than 1 day for such a minor procedure." Heat crept up her face with unchecked anger, and her body felt hot. Mary leered at her. "Do as you're told, Bianca. I said he will come when he's ready." Bianca flinched as if she were hit. They stared at one another for a heartbeat, then Mary's icy blue eyes defrosted. Her demonic smile returned to that friendly yet dangerous crescent shape, and she placed her hands on her hips. "Eat up," she said sweetly. "And I'll see what I can do about the doctor coming by. Okay?" Mary was as chipper as ever. The sound of her voice was grating. Bianca bit her bottom lip to stop venomous words from flying out of her mouth. She was thinking of a couple of swear words or where Mary could put her food, but decided against it. She didn't know Mary or what she was capable of doing, and had gone to great lengths to abduct her. Bianca was also in pain and couldn't defend herself. Mary skipped out of the room. Once again, the familiar click as Mary locked the door. Bianca eyed the tablets. She ate the food, one delicious bite at a time, and felt guilty for enjoying it, knowing full well something was off with Nurse Mary. She realized she couldn't confront Mary due to her fluctuating mood whenever she didn't approve of Bianca's behavior. Until she knew more about her situation and why she was here, she wouldn't anger Mary. But she wouldn't drink the tablets again. After she ate, she grabbed the plastic cup holding the tablets and climbed off the bed. Standing over the toilet bowl, she poured the 3 capsules inside and flushed, watching them swirl around and disappear. Bianca pressed her ear against the door. All she heard was the thrumming hum of the air conditioner. And then she heard footsteps. Her heart sank to her feet, and she bolted for her bed. With the sudden movement, she pulled her right arm askew, which sent bolts of lightning up her neck and pain down her arm. The door clicked open. Bianca lay still, her eyes shut tight. Footsteps heavier than Mary's edged in, coming closer. Gripping the pillow with one hand, the other the mattress, Bianca knew how to lay still, to play dead. It was fight, flight, or just lay there and pretend you're asleep. Someone brushed her hair out of her face. Beads of sweat peppered her forehead. Surely they would know she was only pretending. "What did you give her?" The whispering voice was a baritone. "The usual 3, Mary replied, full of confidence. "Did you see her swallow them?" His voice held a warning Bianca recognized, and she trembled. A hand slapping flesh echoed in the room, followed by a soft whimper. They scuffled, then their footsteps were quick as they exited, followed by the door slamming and locking shut with sounds of crying in the hallway. Bianca sat upright, shivering in disgust. That was too close. She pulled her knees to her chest and hugged her legs, rocking herself to sleep.